The Immovable Race 2. World War III, a novel, and Trilogy by Mikale. Chapter title: I hope you are. I hope you are who you say you are, said Rex, my designated escort, the type to nullify a threat and ask questions later. What do you mean? I asked. Look at what the world has become, he said as we stood perched on the mountainside of the Appalachians, looking out at the barren land in front of us. The powers have all but killed our planet, and it has begun to defend herself and fight back, becoming hostile towards all life in an effort to purge herself of evil that has raped and ravaged her for too long. What is that? I asked as a massive and ominous storm front rolled in like a wall of wind and rain that covered the landscape. What a strong storm front that is gathering. That wall that is off in the distance is deceiving. While it is part of a storm front, all that is before us is a single tornado, whose walls cover the entire horizon with no end in sight. What kind of God would create such a horror? Should we not hurry inside? That horror is no creation of God, but of the karma of men. It is an F-10 tornado, more powerful than a hurricane. After the poles had mostly melted, the storms became almost 100 times more powerful. When the corporations used nuclear weapons, the Earth's magnetic field was disrupted and no longer protected us from the sun's gamma rays, but rather insulated them, causing chaos on Earth as sea levels rose. The Earth's crust shifted, and the weather became treacherous. This is why we have gone underground. Now here, your father was brilliant, for he saw all of these things, which is partly why he built the Atlantean ships. He knew that the safest place to shield us from the war, the weather, and the sun was deep beneath the ocean. Tsunamis battered the coasts all over the world as the Earth adjusted herself, gasping for life. And we were protected underground, in the mountains, and beneath the waves. Why do you remain here? Where are the Atlantean vessels? Where is the ship? Do you prefer land? I asked. I prefer life. And we cannot stay in the mountains forever. We are running out of food and supplies, he said as he picked through a half-eaten piece of bread. But what about the ships? There were once many, but the White Guard and the corporations have all but destroyed them all. It is said that only one has survived, but we do not know for sure. It has been months since we have last had contact. I nervously gazed at the ferocious storm. Rex must have noticed my anxiety. Do not worry about the twister, it is still far off. We are safe for now. How did the war begin? Rex looked at me and stopped eating, and then pulled a rotten piece of bread from his mouth. When the global economy collapsed in 2008, the corporations and their puppet world leaders and terrorist group positioned themselves all over the world to lay claim to what few resources were left. But the natural resources were only a front for what they truly valued. What is more important than oil and gold? I asked. The stargates. There are holy sites positioned all over the world, where beings of higher frequencies have descended and ascended. Ancient civilizations also fought over these portals, building monumental structures on top of these coordinates, hoping to gain access to these stargates, and become like the gods themselves. As I am sure you can imagine, one of the most hotly contested portals lies on the Mount of Olives. The dome on the mount? Precisely. Except the dome is no longer there. What? As one of the most hotly contested portals, where both Mohammed and Jesus ascended, it was claimed by both Jews and the Muslim world. But it was the Muslims who had control over it for centuries. Yes, that priestly class, who claimed roots for Aaron of the Old Testament, who dedicated their whole existence toward reclaiming the portal and rebuilding the third temple of Solomon, which they believed would hail the coming of the Messiah. The Jews stormed the dome of the mount toward the end of Ramadan, when all the Muslims had been fasting for almost an entire month and were at their weakest point physically. With more modern weapons, corporate support, and the element of surprise, They easily overpowered the Muslims, but at a cost. Such a chess move unified the entire Muslim world, those that were radical and conservative alike. And there were many Christians all over the world that were tortured, beheaded, stoned, and crucified in retaliation. Wow! So much has happened since I have been gone. Maybe it is best. With our work so inhospitable, and with the constant threat of war at every turn, what will we do? It was your father's intent to leave this planet. He felt that the physical dynamics of this world, and this plane, only allowed for spiritual growth and the advancement of a civilization to a certain extent. That is why he built the Atlantean crafts. They were for multiple uses, not only to serve as a vessel to ensure survival of the race, but they also were ships capable of multidimensional space travel. But it is possible that the rest of the race have already gone. But in my heart, I believe they are waiting. Waiting for what? I asked. Waiting for you. We all thought you were dead. It is a miracle that you are still alive. How is it that you survived in the prison camp? I do not know. They only conducted tests. Hundreds of tests, but for some reason, they did not torture me like the rest. Ha ha. Rex laughed loudly. What is so funny? They knew who you were. And they dared not to touch a hair on your head lest all of the universe swallow and obliterate them whole. Even Christ himself was not touched until it was his time. And yet, even still, there were others, such as the Apostle John, Moses, and Enoch, who never were touched, but who ascended into the heavens.